How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Tsipolitics, Vice Presidential Debate Recap. I am joined by my brother, Alex Sippis, and our good friend, Alex Bauer. Xander, where do you want to start this? Because that debate, better than the first one, I thought it was solid, but, still a little dodgy on the questions. If I was just taking information Mike Pence was saying, I think I learned a lot about our country. Apparently, we're not systematically racist. How about that?
My overall thought on it is much better than the first one, or than the presidential debate. I don't think any Republicans are going to say that Kamala Harris won it, and I don't think any Democrats are going to say that Mike Pence won it. I think both looked pretty good saying their party's rhetoric, saying what their campaigns have been saying. I just don't think that the Trump campaign's going to get anybody. And at this point in the race, when you're down 10 points, like that's a loss. So him mansplaining probably wasn't the best look. Him continuously to go over time, and then the moderator be like, "Hey, can you stop? Can you stop?" And then him continuing to talk, and then Kamala will be like, "Hey, can you stop?" And him continuing to talk, and then him lecturing Kamala Harris on what it means to be black in America. Probably not a good look. He acted the part. He seemed like a true professional. I will give him that. The things he was saying, not so true.
Bauer, what'd you think?
Pretty much the same thing. I think that they both pretty much strengthened their party ties and their party lines. Both looked the part. But when you dissect kind of the meat and potatoes of what they were saying, obviously there's two big takeaways where Pence had just a bunch of kind of the same old shtick and empty promises and empty takes, whereas Kamala actually brought up some points where banning private prisons, decriminalizing pot. She was bringing some actual meat and potatoes to her.
One thing I think Pence kind of missed out on was her record as the Attorney General in California. Like, she put a lot of people behind bars for pot. And he kind of touched on that. He probably could have gone a lot further. I think there were a couple missed opportunities on both sides.
That's why her coming out and saying that her and Biden are for decriminalizing pot is such a big deal. You know what I mean? Like that way Pence can't put her past work on her that much, because she's coming out and saying, well, listen, I hear you, and we're going to change that. That's the point.
So here were a few of my biggest takeaways. I was excited because I thought, okay, we're actually going to get to some topics that aren't really touched on or haven't been touched on recently. I was happy when they're talking foreign policy. I was happy that abortion was brought up, and I was also happy that they kind of dove more into like racial justice, because I was hoping that wouldn't just be like kicked to the curb due to COVID and the Supreme Court and all that. I first wanted to touch actually on the environment.
Yes.
I found it so weird that Mike Pence was saying they're going to ban fracking and fossil fuels. And I'm sitting there going, good. And then Kamala goes, no, we're not going to ban fracking. I'm like, but what are you doing? Stop it. Like, do you want young people to vote or not? Like, stop defending fracking. It is not the 1960s. Just be like, yeah, it's actually kind of bad for our environment. It's why our country's on fire, and why there's another hurricane that's going to batter the South. So just be like, actually, yeah, we're going to do that because it's not good for our country or our planet. Like, I'm just like, why are they trying to defend fracking? Like, stop that. Like, what a weird thing for both candidates to defend. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm a 21-year-old liber from the Northeast, but like, just like, pander to young people for once. Kamala pandered to young people once. I was very happy. She slid in a little, we're going to slash $10,000 in student debt. And I'm like, ooh, tell me more, Kamala.
Yeah, going back to the environment thing, like, like Kamala had so many, like Mike Pence said, over the last 100 years, there's no evidence that there've been more hurricanes now than there were then. Like literally this year and in the last 15 years have had the highest
Didn't,
amount of
haven't
hurricanes. Like
haven't they run out of names? Like, aren't they using Greek
yeah,
signs?
this is the second time
Isn't this
in
like
history
Hurricane
they've done that.
Delta?
Yeah,
Hurricane
it's Hurricane
Delta.
Delta.
Delta. I mean, for God's, I mean, like Isai, I don't even know. But that wasn't even the main point. The main point is that like they're bigger and they are slower.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
understand.
like you could have twice as many hurricanes, but if they're all like little baby things, like okay, that's fine. But like when you have the one that wiped out the Bahamas, that barely missed Florida because it just stopped. Like that's what they're talking about. And again, forest management. We've done the best for the environment. It's really weird because there's something called the Environmental Protection Agency that you think, oh, if you care about the environment, then you know you protect the thing that protects the environment. But they kind of just slashed that. So like I cannot believe Kamala didn't bring up like you're slashing the EPA. How can you say like you're for the environment when
Correct.
you literally are cutting the thing with environment in the name, and
That-
the dude who runs it is an oil mogul.
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing is that like the Republicans for so long have been running on, we're going to roll back regulations. No, don't do that. Do not roll back regulations.
But regulations hurt the economy. It also prevents you from getting asbestos.
I I didn't understand both of their um, fetishes for the fracking. Like they just like really harped on that, and it's like it was just mind boggling to me that that took up like that was literally maybe 5 6 minutes of them going back and forth on the fracking. And I get like the environment is like my number one issue for me. Like, what are we doing to for sustainability? What are we doing to cut the use of fossil fuels? And for Trump to be like, or not Trump, I'm sorry, Pence to be like, oh yeah, and they want to ban fossil fuels. It's like, yes, we do. Like, thank you for making her point.
Another thing I wanted to tap into was definitely the foreign policy. Right off the bat, when he's like, Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, I just got off my seat and go, "Whoa!" Did you just drop that into the debate? Jesus, Mike, bold take. Um, I find it so frustrating when they're touting our foreign policy and our power, and they say we defeated ISIS, and it's like, well, you haven't. And we abandoned our allies, the Kurds, who are fighting alongside with us, because Trump sucks up to Erdogan, Turkish, not even call him Turkish president, he's Turkish dictator. And Kurds had to leave their posts from fighting ISIS to fight for their own land. And you have the audacity to come out and say, we've defeated ISIS, blah, 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 our great foreign policy. Like, get out of here. Our allies don't like us. Like people don't like us. And it's getting to a point where people, like after watching the first debate, genuinely felt bad for us because they understand, oh, this is how authoritarianism starts. Nice. And I also find it amazing. Xander, you brought this to my attention. People sharing videos and spreading awareness of what's happening in Armenia. I actually don't know a ton of what's going on in Armenia. I know there's conflict with Turkey, there's conflict with Azerbaijan, but there's people sharing videos saying like, oh, like this President Erdogan in Turkey and like what they're doing to the Armenians, blah, 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 because Armenians are very Christian. So you have all these Christian conservatives posting things that are pro-Armenia and anti-Erdogan. And I'm just like, how could you possibly post that if you're pro-Trump when literally Erdogan was one of the first people who he called or called him and he said, congratulations. Like that's his friend. Like it's unbelievable what these last few days have been just from someone who studies foreign policy.
Why doesn't Kamala Harris bring that up? I don't like when they were talking about ISIS and stuff. Like I was waiting for her to say, "Well, it's about to start all back up again because of our ineptitude to deal with Turkey." Do you think
I don't
she
know.
doesn't know enough about it?
I don't. Yeah, maybe that's part of it, or maybe she's just coached a certain way to tackle other points.
Well, foreign policy isn't her strength. It's, she probably knows more foreign policy than I do. She probably knows more foreign policy than most people, but it's not one of her strengths.
She she had a very straight line answer where it was like, you got to be nice with your friends and you got to keep your adversaries in check. It's like,
I mean, she's not wrong,
no,
but
no, I know,
yeah,
but it's a very simple
but also
answer.
at the same time, like the thing is, you don't want to set Mike Pence up because even though I disagree with his uh, foreign policy, and like he's not stupid, he's just lying. Like everything he's been saying about foreign policy and all of that, he knows what's going on. He's in the room. He's the vice president. He has a lot of influence in foreign policy, and he just straight up lied or was just having these huge, just like not miscalculations, but stretching the truth a bit. But if you're a Kamala, the last thing you want to do is want to challenge him too much because he could always dig into something where it might not be completely true, but he could make you look stupid because he is in that room and has a lot of that knowledge.
Her biggest win was attacking him on COVID and being like, hey, you knew January 28th what was going, like what implications this could have been. And we should have had a plan set up. And we didn't have a plan until March is a big failure. And for him to be like, this was, this was, this is America coming together and fighting this as one country. And it's just like, this is a bunch of garbage. It's just a bunch of garbage.
But
Like, what are you talking about?
But from someone who might be leaning that way, like I actually thought Pence, even though it was all bullshit, I actually thought he did a pretty good job. I thought Kamala didn't attack him enough because he did a great job of just milking that clock. If you like all the times, like he went over so early. Like Kamala went on the attack, but I thought she didn't attack enough. Not fault of her own, but just because Pence was milking the clock, hogging the time, always going overtime. And even though I disagree with everything he was saying, Pence was doing a good job to make it seem like, oh, it's not all that bad. They did the classic, well, it could have been 2 million people, blah, 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 blah. Still 210,000 that's literally filling up Michigan Stadium, murdering everyone inside, and then doing it again. So it's like, like I said, it's unbelievable. But from a debate standpoint, Pence did what he had to do. I thought Pence had a solid first quarter. How about that?
No, and then he brought up swine flu.
That was pretty stupid. Yeah,
like,
maybe not a solid first quarter, solid first possession. He played some good lockdown defense, went into the zone, but that got broken up pretty quickly because Kamala just started dropping threes on him.
I mean, the dude has a political shell where he plays the part well. He plays a politician really well. He says the right things in terms of trying to enlighten his base. Not, but when you get down to what he's actually saying, it's just all garbage.
So he brings up this 2 million number, and he's like, if it wasn't for our intervention, it would be 2 million people dead. Like, yeah, no shit. If you literally just sat there and like, huh, nice day we're having. Yeah, 2 million people would die. But like you guys were saying, like it's still 200,000 people. Like it's, if any country didn't do anything, it would be 2 million people.
I thought also she had a really good point where she was like, how can we trust you for our safety when you're having super spreader events like the Supreme Court nomination ceremony, and New Zealand has 17 cases in one day and the White House has 34. Like, right.
I thought Pence actually I 100% disagree with what he said, but I thought he was very good at walking all these fair accusations against him and the administration back and putting it into this nice little simple term that makes me want to sit behind my white picket fence with my golden retriever next to me. He's like, we believe that Americans can make their own decisions for what they need to do. And you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Then you're like, wait a minute, this is a contagious disease. No,
they can't make their own decisions because look at Arizona. We make bad decisions as a state. No one here wears a mask. Our cases keep going up. Like, I just need a presidential candidate to say, no, I actually can't trust the American people because a lot of American people are fucking stupid.
You can edit this out, but a little history lesson was that the founding fathers believed that they should be in charge because they thought the American public was dumb. and that if we did everything, like person by person, like a true democracy, we would absolutely fail as a country. And so they believe that the people elected them to make decisions. And it's just
hence the electoral college, where you're not voting for the president, you're voting for people to pick the president on your behalf.
I'm I totally think that the system needs retooling, but an all out about abolition of the electoral college is not the answer, because then you're gonna have campaigns in like the 5 major cities and that's it.
I don't think I want to edit this out. I kind of like this.
Okay.
Some good insight. We'll
Like
keep
the electoral
going.
college,
I
I
like.
think it needs to be changed.
I think it needs to be. Well,
it needs to be changed, but not gotten rid
Well,
of.
you need to weight it properly. Like
Yeah,
a vote in
that's my whole
Wyoming
thing. It's the
is
the
like
weight of
10
it's
times
not.
more important than a vote from California. That's ridiculous. A, they're stupid, or you can edit that out. B,
I don't
like
want
that's
to
just
edit out
ridiculous.
that. We have not had a list in Wyoming yet, so I'm actually going to keep that in. Suck it, Wyoming. Tsipolitics.
I heard good things about Wyoming.
I've heard it's beautiful, probably a great thing. I could pull up their education. Actually, I'll say this: they do pay their teachers pretty well compared to cost of living. I'll give them that. They're trying, but
Shout
yeah,
out-
it's
Shout out
definitely
Wyoming.
it's definitely not properly weighted. Yeah, shout out to Wyoming, but they can also still suck it to an extent. I think I'm going to leave that in. I really want to get to a part where I was really cracking up, but I want to go back to Mike Pence telling Kamala Harris what it's like to be black in America. I'm like, that before this debate, I'm like, is he really going to be that dumb to do so? And he did. And my favorite line was, the Democrats are doing this thing where they say that America is systematically racist and that our law enforcement is biased towards African Americans. And I'm just like, well, because they are.
Yeah, I liked her at the end when she reiterated that fact and was like, and even though you don't think so, Mike, the police are actually like inherently biased.
I also just loved her demeanor during the whole thing because she
Oh,
was
hilarious.
totally going just. I mean, she was being a mom. She's like, "Can I speak? Let me finish." I was like, "Let me finish."
Also, Susan Page, that's her name, right? Susan Page.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. No, you tell him to shut up. You don't tell him thank you.
No, Susan. Thank you, and thank the great state of Utah. I wanted someone to drop the Beehive State so bad.
Kamala messed up right at the beginning. I mean, you saw Biden knocked it out of the park during the first debate, and Trump missed the opportunity. And then this time it was flip flopped.
She didn't thank the people.
She didn't thank the great state of Utah for hosting them tonight.
She didn't thank the university. She didn't thank the Utes.
That's so overblown. Who cares? Who cares?
Nobody.
Well, the best was Pence's VP debate, where it was at. I think it was. It was where was it? It was some random school in Virginia. Their mascot's the Lancers. Oh my god, was it Longwood?
Yeah,
I think it's Longwood University, and he totally botched the name. And I'm like, how dare you botch the name of a big South competitor?
Lancers is pretty cool. So
I think they're in Farmville, Virginia. Someone might need to check that for me. I'm not sure if Utah's the Beehive State. I feel like it is, but give me you two talk amongst yourselves. I gotta do some research for a quick sec.
I would wonder where that came from. Are they known for their bees?
No, they're not. I forget what it came from, but my buddy Sean was like, "Yeah, the Beehive State." I'm like, "Do you have a lot of bees there?" And he was just like, "No." And I was really, or maybe I got it mixed up.
I'm gonna look it up.
No. You two talk amongst yourselves. I have a Utah connection. Talk about the debate. I have multiple things to look up at the moment.
You keep saying Longwood, and I just think about the T stop.
What else happened in that debate? I just thought
Longwood is in Farmville. I was correct.
I think Kamala and Biden need to have an answer and just live with the answer of what they're going to say for the Supreme Court. Either lie now and say no and then do it and then be like, everyone lies. Or just say, yeah, we're going to do it. It's happened 7 times before. There's no set amount of number. So that's the thing. I've noticed twice now. So Trump did it last time, and Pence did it this time. He was like, "It's been 100 years since that. We're gonna take away this great tradition." And last week, Trump goes, "Think about the tradition of knowing who wins on election night." It's like, sure, but like that's not the important part. Is like sitting around the TV is not the most important part about an election. I'd rather know who actually wins the election.
Well,
And just like this, like, sure, you can romanticize the fact that it's been 150 years since we've expanded the Supreme Court, but like they've done it 7 times before.
I
You're
guess
allowed to do it.
my
They're not
my
doing anything illegal.
Utah is called the Beehive State because the beehive is a symbol for hard work in industry,
it's also the unofficial state symbol,
but it's the nickname.
unofficially.
I believe the Beehive is incorporated in their flag. I didn't Salt Lake have or either Salt Lake or Utah had a flag remaking contest, and I believe the Beehive took center stage. I believe I'm not looking anything up, but I do believe their colors are light blue and yellow.
They
I'm
are.
looking at their flag right now. I don't know
I,
about Salt Lake, but the Utah state flag has a shield with a beehive. It says Utah, and then above it, it says industry, which is a
literally,
really weird thing to brag about in 1847.
literally, I'm looking at uh, the state like facts, and it literally says official state slogan Beehive State, and then underneath it has a list of unofficial state slogans, and it also has the Beehive State. So I'm pretty confused right now.
4 hours ago, the new Salt Lake flag was approved.
4 hours ago?
Yeah, because I remember they were having a contest.
How
Time
about
out.
that?
Time out. This is totally something non sequitur. I know, Pete. I don't think I ever got your top 5 state flags.
Ooh, top 5 state flags. Colorado's dope. Arizona's dope.
Arizona is in my top 5.
New Mexico's dope.
New Mexico is in my top 5.
Mississippi, the old one. I'm just kidding. Fuck that flag. I'm gonna go California. I love a good bear. And then, you know what?
About Washington.
I was literally about to say Washington. I kind of like the fact that they just have Washington on there.
Y'all are missing a big one. That would be the state of Maryland.
Overrated.
Yeah, I don't like that flag.
Overrated flag. Oh, congrats. You put a bunch of different colors in there, and your college, whose mascot is a turtle, is just going to wear that around. Speaking of colleges, though, Utah and Utah State play for the Beehive Boot.
Do they really?
They do. We're talking about the debate. Yeah, I wanted to bring up something else. Can't wait to edit all this out.
Sorry.
When Mike Pence said, you know, like, we like do not support like voter suppression, blah, blah, blah. Like everyone has the right to vote. We're a democracy, blah, blah, blah. That's why we're ending the Democrats' plan to make universal mail-in voting. And I'm just like, you just like, are you touting democracy with voter suppression?
That's what it sounded like.
Unbelievable.
We can also bring up all the gerrymandering cases too that equally are voter suppression as well.
I mean, that's every state. I mean, hell, even in Massachusetts, like Brookline should not be in the same congressional district as like places in the South Shore and like Buzzards Bay.
No, yeah, that's
like that. Like that's a problem. Like Massachusetts is kind of rigged.
Every
too.
state has it. You're right.
I really wish like Kamala would have said, especially when they were talking about like being people of faith and stuff like that. Like just go out there and say like we have no problem with Amy Barrett, whatever the fuck her name is. We have no problem with her faith. We have no problem with anyone's faith. We have a problem when you're
a judge.
inflicting your views on law. Like just go out and say that. And I think most Americans would agree with that. Like,
and it's a pretty
from religion.
It's a pretty big difference to be like, yeah, I go to church every Sunday and I'm pretty faithful to whatever religion I practice, which is okay. And it's another thing to be like an extremist about your religion. And there's been some stories of her like taking her religion and just
Well, she's a whack job.
right, exactly, and just going a little too far with it, and that's
But
concerning.
she's a Rhodes Scholar.
Okay, and I made the dean's list at Northeastern. What's your point?
She's a Rhodes Scholar. Excuse me,
I-
she went to Rhodes University in Knoxville.
I
My
never,
apologies.
I
Wait,
never,
what?
Wait, did you not hear the story?
No,
Yeah.
are you making a joke right now?
he
No,
made a
Trump
news joke.
called her a Rhodes Scholar, saying that she got a scholarship to Oxford University, which is what a Rhodes Scholar is. When in reality, she went to this small liberal arts private school called Rhodes College in like Nashville or Knoxville, Tennessee.
Memphis.
Whatever.
Wonder what their mascot is.
Doesn't
Also,
matter.
Well, it does now.
also, I just never understand where you're throwing colleges in the game where it's like she went to Notre Dame, she studied at Notre Dame. Like, who cares?
The Rhodes College
Who
Lynx.
cares?
The Lynx. I kind of like that. The Rhodes Lynx.